Batteries fully charged. Launch ready for AEW Spark in 3, 2, 1. All Elite Wrestling discussion is live. Cue host Owen Finch.
Welcome everyone to AEW Spark for July 30th, 2022. I wanted to get this video out earlier, but it just didn't really end up working out that way because I was too busy and stuff like that. So you're getting it now, and be happy getting it now because I thought I was going to end up missing a week. But I have only missed 1 week, and it was out of my control. But it is what it is. So yeah, this is a big episode of AEW Spark because I was at 3 of these shows that I'm going to be covering today, which is very exciting. So how I'm going to kind of structure this will be a little bit different. I'm going to kind of talk about my live experience being at all these shows. And yeah, we'll just get into talking about it. So I usually go into in chronological order, which is what I'm still going to end up doing. We're going to start with ROH Death Before Dishonor since it took place first. I ended up attending this show. So yeah, I'm just going to get right into talking about it. So as for ROH Death Before Dishonor, I'm just going to talk about my live experience of what went into the day of going to the show and everything. So I would say it was in Lowell, Massachusetts, as everybody knows, and I live really far away from it. I think I live like about an hour and a half away from the venue. And yeah, I ended up leaving at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I ended up going with Rockland Rampage, Steve Steiner, the Smoke Slayer, Parachute Man #1, whatever he wants to call himself. I ended up going with Steve Coakley and his family. It was kind of cool, but also it was awkward in places just because, not really in places, the main awkward thing is they all had these action figure 80s style wrestling shirts, and they were all wearing them, and I was like wearing an Adam Cole t-shirt. I was kind of like the out man of the group pretty much because I was the only one that really stood out. But it was kind of cool because I didn't have that shirt and I wanted to wear something that had to do with ROH, and I couldn't think of anyone's t-shirt that I owned that fit ROH other than Adam Cole. I did have a CM Punk t-shirt. I guess he would have fit a little bit more thinking back on it, but I wasn't sure if CM Punk was going to show up on Dynamite, so I wanted to make sure that shirt was clean before I left. So but yeah, so we ended up leaving. We spent some time at Dave & Buster's for a while, which was pretty cool. Dave & Buster's has definitely kind of cut back the menu and stuff and cut back on certain things since post-pandemic and stuff, because the last time I'd been to Dave & Buster's was like right before the pandemic hit, actually. So it was kind of a little bit of a disappointment food-wise and stuff. The games and stuff were still good. And then, yeah, they actually were showing, because SummerSlam's coming up. SummerSlam's today, as I'm recording this. And they were showing some past SummerSlam matches. They were showing Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon for the IC title at SummerSlam 95. They were showing Triple H versus The Rock for the IC title at SummerSlam 98. The Undertaker versus Stone Cold Steve Austin on that same show. I'm trying to think of what else they showed on that show. Those are like the main things that they showed. I think they might have shown like a recent SummerSlam match, but I can't think of what it was. So then we left the Dave & Buster's, and then we got to the venue. We just went and grabbed like a quick drink, and then we actually just went to the venue. I didn't sit with them because when they bought the tickets, they got like a pre-sale and stuff. So I ended up just buying my tickets. I ended up sitting at like section 116. Really not a bad seat in there because the venue is so small. It was cool because at the arena they had like your own private bar and stuff you could have sat at and stuff, which was pretty cool. I didn't sit there, but it was still cool. Tony Khan came out and he does an introduction saying like, welcome everyone to the show. I hope you guys have a good time, the typical stuff. And then, yeah, I just ended up kicking right off. I'm just going to read the card from Wikipedia just so I can remember it, because some of the people's names I might not remember. Let me just see if I can find the show real quick. I know the first match was, hold on, I have it right here. The first match was Cabana versus Anthony Henry. He was accompanied by his tag team partner, JD Drake, because they're part of the Workhorsemen. And it was Cabana. It was the first time we've seen Cabana in a wrestling ring, I think, since ROH Supercard of Honor. He's probably done some indie stuff, but that's the first time I've seen him. It was nice to see him again. Yeah, I enjoyed this. It ended up being a pretty solid match. It went 10 minutes, which it did feel like a 10-minute match. Anthony Henry got the advantage throughout much of the match, and JD Drake ended up interfering several times, but eventually Cabana hit a frog splash for the win, and that was really it. It was a pretty good basic match. It was 3 stars. On commentary for the show, even though I was live, I couldn't hear the commentary, was Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman. I was kind of happy I didn't hear the commentary because I'm not really a fan of them together on commentary. I just don't think they really make a good match. It's just my opinion. It might be unpopular, but that's just what I think. Then we had the Trustbusters versus the Shinobi Shadow Squad. This was a pretty good match here. It's definitely a better match if you watch it live. Eventually, Ali Gavawa, which is now his name, it's now A-R-I, and then just Davawi. He's changed the spelling of his name. Hit the frog splash for the win. And yeah, I enjoyed this match. It was good. It kind of ended abruptly. I thought there was going to be a little bit more of a match, but it kind of ended abruptly. But yeah, it ended up being a good match nonetheless. Then we had Prince Nana ended up having an interview. It's revealed that he ended up buying out Tully Blanchard's Tully Enterprises, and now it's called the Embassy instead. I really don't know what came of that, if something happened there, but that's just what ended up happening. And he announced that he's going to accompany Jonathan Gresham to the ROH World Title match. We had the Embassy, which consisted of Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony versus Alex Zane, Blake Christian, and Tony Deppen. Really enjoyed this. It was a really good match to see live. The heels ended up getting the heat on Alex Zane for a while, and then eventually Blake Christian ended up getting the hot tag, and he went off on everybody. Everybody hit, all the faces hit big dives on the heels, but eventually the power of the heels ended up overcoming the baby faces, and the Embassy ended up getting the win when Brian Cage hit a discus lariat for the win. So that was cool. I hear Brian Cage still isn't happy in AEW. He says, he's been tweeting a lot of things like he's doing what he loves but not doing what he loves. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen there, if he's going to end up leaving AEW. It's been rumored for a while, so now I'm wondering if it's actually going to happen. So it'll be interesting. Then we had the last pre-show match. These were all pre-show matches. It was Willow Nightingale versus Allison Kay. It was cool to see Allison Kay. I haven't seen her in a while. I know she's been doing some stuff in NWA, but I haven't been able to watch it. So we had this match, and yeah, they shook hands to honor the Code of Honor, and they ended up going at it for a little bit. Eventually, Willow Nightingale won with a Swanton Bomb, and Willow Nightingale won, which made sense considering the fact that, Willow Nightingale is the one that's being pushed on TV and stuff every week, so it made sense to do that. Afterwards, they shook hands and everything. Then we had the start of the show. It actually kicked off with the ROH World Championship match. It kicked off with Jonathan Gresham defending the belt with Prince Nano inside versus Claudio Castanoli. William Regal was on commentary for this match. I was really shocked that this match ended up opening the show. Considering the fact that, I thought it main event. I thought it was either going to be this match or the tag title match that main evented, and it ended up being the tag title match. But I was really surprised on how this ended up unfolding here. The match was still really good. I really enjoyed the match. It was a really technical match. Both men were trying to outmaneuver each other. Jonathan Gresham targeted the leg of Claudio Castanoli throughout much of this matchup. Claudio Castanoli hit the swing right away onto Jonathan Gresham. And then he got him into the sharpshooter. Gresham got the ropes. Gresham hit a wicked kick to the head of Claudio Castanoli. A missile drop kick. He got Claudio in the octopus, but Claudio got the ropes. Then eventually Claudio Castanoli hit a wicked uppercut, several uppercuts in this match, and that the power bomb with the arms crossed, and he ended up just winning the ROH World Championship. And they had confetti. It was a big celebration, and I was really surprised of how quick the match was. I wasn't necessarily surprised that he won. I was expecting this to be a barn burner. It was still really good, but if I probably watched this on pay-per-view, I probably would have been pissed. But since I was there live, it was cool to see Claudio Castanoli actually win his first World Championship in any company. He's been everywhere, WWE, ROH, AEW, and things like that, and he's never won a World Championship. So it was cool to see Claudio Castanoli finally win a World Championship, and I was happy about it. I was really surprised. Interesting how that happened, but I read it does make more sense of why this happened, because apparently Jonathan Gresham asked for his release in ROH because he's not really a fan of Tony Khan. He ended up cursing him out. So I'm not really sure what happened there, considering the fact that Tony Khan, usually is pretty cool with the wrestlers, but, Jonathan Gresham is usually a pretty well laid back guy, so it's going to be interesting to see where he goes. They're saying he may leave the wrestling business altogether, so I'm not sure if that's going to end up happening or not, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Then we had the next match. It was ROH six-man World Tag Team Championship match. It was the Righteous with Vita Von Starr inside, defending against Dalton Castle and the boys. Both teams had really cool entrances in this match. It ended up being a really entertaining match. It was just really big spot after big spot. I was kind of hoping Mike Bennett and Matt Taven were going to make an appearance, and they were going to reform the Kingdom somehow, because I thought that would have been cool, but that didn't end up being the case. Eventually, Dalton Castle hit like a tilt-a-whirl into a face-buster for the win, and the Dalton Castle and the boys won the six-man World Tag Team Championships. That made sense considering the fact that we've seen them feature Dalton Castle a lot on AEW programming, and the Righteous really weren't doing much anyways. I think Vincent was mainly just with Impact Wrestling for the most part, so it kind of made sense to take the six-man World Tag Team titles off of them. It was kind of weird to see the Righteous back together again, since, you see Vincent doing stuff with Honor No More on Impact Wrestling and things like that, so it was kind of strange to see them just bring that act back together. But yeah, this was a really good match. I really enjoyed it. Then we had the ROH Pure Championship match. It was Willie Yuda defending against Daniel Garcia. William Regal was on commentary again for this match. Earlier in the show, Daniel Garcia did an interview talking about how he doesn't care about the ROH Pure Championship. He just wants to take it because it means a lot to Willie Yuda. And on Dynamite, he says if he wins that belt, they're going to end up destroying the championship, which I thought would have been a really interesting storyline. This is the only match I got wrong on the whole pay-per-view. I got everything right but this match. I actually thought they were going to give it to Daniel Garcia, but they didn't. But this was a great match. It was really technical. It was really stiff in places. I love how personal it was. And I was really intrigued by it. Eventually, Willie Yuda ended up winning with the bicycle roll-up, and he ended up beating Daniel Garcia. Nobody used a rope break or anything, though, so that was interesting. I think maybe one rope break was used, but I thought this was a great match here. It's definitely a 4-star match, maybe 4 1/4 since I was there live, but it was awesome. I really enjoyed this match. Then we had the sleeper match of the night. It was Roosh versus Dragon Lee. Roosh was accompanied by Jose, the assistant, and I was really surprised on how good this match was. I kind of expected it to be, but because there was no hype behind it or anything like that, it ended up being a really sleeper match of the night. Both men just really went all out with each other. You just have to go see this match to believe it. And you had Roosh hit a double stomp onto Dragon Lee through a table. Dragon Lee hit some really cool dives in this match. And eventually Roosh won with his finisher, which is like a double arm DDT. And he ended up beating Dragon Lee. And I was a fan of this. It made sense for Roosh to win since they've been kind of pushing him lately, and with what they ended up doing, announcing at the end of the show where they announced he was going to challenge Jon Moxley for the Interim AEW World Championship, and made all the sets in the world for Roosh to win, and I was a fan of this. I really enjoyed this. Then we had the ROH Women's Championship match. It was Mercedes Martinez defending against Serena Deeb. This was still a very good match. But it was on a bad spot in the card because it was after 2 great matches with the ROH Pure Championship match and Roosh versus Dragon Lee. But it was still a very good match. Both women were very technical in the match. Everybody actually really wanted Serena Deeb to win the championship. And I thought it was going to kind of happen in a way. I was kind of surprised because everyone was more for Serena Deeb than Mercedes Martinez. But Mercedes Martinez ended up getting the win with her submission finisher, the Dragon Sleeper with surfboard stretch, and then afterwards they shook hands. And yeah, it was a very good match. I definitely enjoyed this. I definitely recommend checking it out. Then we had the ROH World Television Championship match. Samoa Joe defended against Jay Lethal. Earlier in the show, Jay Lethal cut a promo saying all the same stuff, how he's going to take the ROH World Television Championship from Samoa Joe. Joe immediately came out. They brawled ringside for a while. Eventually, Satnam Singh ran out and attacked Joe. They did the whole thing, spotted Double or Nothing, where they took his chair, wrapped it around his shoulder, and smashed it against the post. They were going to put him through a table, but the referee ejected Satnam Singh from ringside. They never ended up going through the table. Joe and Lethal ended up really going at it with each other. He had several interference spots from Sanjay Dutt, where he nearly interfered in the match, and he tried to help Jay Lethal win, but eventually Joe made Jay Lethal tap out to the Coquina Clutch and retained his ROH World Television Championship. I thought this made sense because it would have made Joe look weak if he just showed up here and lost, since he hasn't been on TV in like a month. So it would have been kind of weird. But I really enjoyed this match. Really good, great stuff. And it would have been probably match of the night had the next match not happened. So really enjoyable stuff there. Then we had the main event. It was the 2 out of 3 falls match for the ROH World Tag Team Championships. It was FTR defending the ROH World Tag Team titles against the Briscoes. Great stuff here. The Briscoes were really against one of the fans ringside, and they were cussing them out and stuff, so that kind of made them heels in the match. But, they kind of had a lot of the same match from ROH Supercard of Honor in the beginning, where they both just went at it with each other. Eventually, the Briscoes beat the FTR. They won the first fall when they hit the Tower of Doom spot onto Dash Wilder, and they ended up winning the first fall. Then they continuously attacked FTR. Eventually, Dax Harwood got the hot tag, and FTR won with the big rig. They hit it on one of the Briscoes and got the second fall. There was brawling in the crowd, though. This was just a fight in this match. Eventually, there was a table set up ringside, and one of the Briscoes hit a back suplex onto... no, it was Dax Harwood hit a back suplex onto one of the Briscoes, and he just fell, and the table broke ringside, and then eventually Dax Harwood hit a power driver off the turnbuckle onto one of the Briscoes, and the FTR ended up retaining the ROH World Tag Team titles. Fantastic match here. Definitely check it out. It was definitely 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. Probably one of the best matches I've ever seen live, and it was awesome. Afterwards, FTR did a promo saying that they respect the Briscoes and that they're going to keep these ROH World Tag Team titles and keep this run going. And then at the end of the show, you had a face-off with the Briscoes and the Blackpool Combat Club, specifically Claudio Castanoli and Willie Yuda. So I don't know if they're going to do a ROH World Tag Team title match between Claudio Castanoli and Willie Yuda versus FTR. I would really like to see that. That would be a hell of a tag match. And we never got to see Claudio really go at it. I guess we did get to see Claudio go at it with FTR since they did the Ball versus FTR and WWE at one point, but I would like to see them really go at it. Afterwards, they even cut a promo talking about what Dax Harwood talked about, how he loved professional wrestling, how they fought like 8-year-old girls, and said that, there was a 73-year-old man that didn't believe in us, and we went out there and proved him wrong. So it was kind of like one last shot at Vince McMahon before he retired. Well, after he retired and everything. So, yeah, that was ROH Death Before Dishonor. It was a hell of a show to see live. That tag title match was awesome. I'm going to do my star ratings for this show real quick. I would probably give Cabana versus Anthony Henry 3 stars. The Trustbusters versus the Shadow Men Squad, the Shinobi Shadow Squad, probably 3 stars. Then I would give the Embassy versus Blake Christian, Alex Zane, and Tony Deppen 3.5 stars. That was really good. Willow Nightingale versus Allison Kay, 3 stars. Claudio versus Jonathan Gresham, I would probably give, that was a very good match. I give that 3 3/4 stars, mainly for the fact that I got to be there to see Claudio win his first world title. The 6-man world tag title match, I would give probably 4 stars. That was a great match. Willie Yuda versus Daniel Garcia, 4 1/4. Bruce versus Dragon Lee, I would give probably 4 1/4. Mercedes Martinez versus Serena Deeb, 3 3/4. Joe versus Lethal, 4.5 stars, and then the main event I would give 5 stars. It was excellent. So that was ROH Death Before Dishonor. Let's talk about the AEW programming that ended up taking place. We're going to start with AEW Elevation episode 71. Pretty damn good episode, all things considered. We had Private Party and Angelico versus AR Fox, Liam Gray, and Adrian Alanis. Pretty damn good 6-man here. AR Fox, I've heard he's done one in Lucha Underground and things like that. He really shined in this match. He got the hot tag, but eventually he was shut down, and Angelico made him tap out to the reverse knee bar, figure 4, and that was that. It was pretty good match there. Then we had Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir squash Charlance Royale and Angelica Risk. At least it was short, and they limited Marina Shafir's time in the match, so that was good. We had Toni Storm versus Emi Sakura. Really good match there. I thought it was a sleeper match of the week for AEW. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, but it was. Eventually, Toni Storm won with the Storm Zero, but it was still a really good match there. We had Brittany versus Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander easily beat her in that match, so there you go. We had Robin Renegade versus Hikaru Shida. I didn't expect this match to be as good as it was, but Robin Renegade really showcased herself well in this match. Eventually, they did Twin Magic with her sister, but the referee caught him because the hairstyles were different, which I don't understand why they changed their hairstyles, but that was the case. and it ended up costing them the match. Shida won with Falcon Arrow. But I liked this because it protected Robert Renegade in defeat, because had she not pulled Twin Magic, she would have ended up, winning the match. So I liked how they kind of protected themselves. Then we had Evil Uno and 10 versus Aaron Solo and Nick Camarado of The Factory. Really good tag match here. Aaron Solo and Nick Camarado got the heat for a while onto Evil Uno. Eventually 10 got the hot tag. And QT Marshall, who was ringside, tried to interfere on Solo and Camarado's behalf, but he got caught and got ejected from ringside. And eventually it led to the Dark Order winning. And yeah, that was that. I thought it was a really good tag match there. Then we had Baron Black versus Brandon Cutler. I was really entertained by this. Brandon Cutler cut a promo, and he was just talking like a nerd, because he was talking. I think like one of the hands. If you've seen the hands from Being the Elite, he was talking like that guy. I forget his name, but the guy that kind of comes up and acts like Vince McMahon and says "You suck" and all that type of stuff. Saying that he specifically asked to Baron Black to be his opponent to the Young Bucks as a favor, because he thought it'd be an easy victory for him, since Baron Black was 0-50. And Baron Black attacked him. He destroyed Brandon Cutler throughout much of this matchup, but eventually Brandon Cutler got the advantage. He nearly won with the hairspray into the super kick, but Baron Black kicked out. Eventually, Baron Black rolled up Brandon Cutler and got his first victory on AEW. I love this. I thought this was really entertaining, and I thought it was a nice way for Baron Black to get a win finally on AEW Elevation. I really enjoyed this. I forgot to mention, too, it was Shivani and Reese Coleman, though, on commentary for this show. Then we had the main event. It was Kanosuke Takeshita versus JD Drake. This was good, but I thought this match was kind of rushed. Like, I feel like if they could have had, like, a proper one-on-one match, they would have really shined, but it was kind of rushed because I think they were rushing for time. But eventually, Kanosuke Takeshita won with the high knee, but I really wish they could have had more time to have a proper match, but it was still pretty good stuff. So that was Elevation. I thought it was a solid show. I enjoyed, Baron Black versus Brandon Cutler was probably my highlight of the night, but I enjoyed Shida versus Robin Renegade, Tony Storm versus Emi Sakura, Kanosuke Takeshita versus JD Drake for what it was, and probably the six-man. I mean, the really only thing I didn't enjoy was probably Marina Shafir's match, which I wrote Marina Shamir, and this Chris Statlander match. So that was that. Then we had Dark, episode 152, I believe, but I don't think I changed it in my notes. So whatever episode of Dark it's currently on, that's the episode of Dark that it was. We had Excalibur and Taz on commentary. We had most of the Dark took place at Universal Studios, where the Impact Zone was, and then the last match took place. I believe it was it was one of AEW's partner promotions, so that was interesting. Kara Hogan squashed Ali Rex. It was decent stuff. We had Ryan Nemeth versus Alex Reynolds. They had a decent match. I thought actually a pretty damn good match. Alex Reynolds ended up winning with Falcon Arrow, which was cool. It was kind of cool because you never really get to see Alex Reynolds have like a one-on-one match, really. So then we had Marina Shafir squash Tracy Nix. It was short, so that was good. We had Slim J versus Blake Lee. Slim J won. I forget how, but he won. Julia Hart squashed Renee Michelle. They should give Renee Michelle more of an opportunity. She's really good, and I think she's better off than just being squashed. Then we had Cole Carter versus Mike Orlando. This was actually technically Cole Carter's first match in AEW, because this was filmed before he had the FTW title match with Ricky Starks and stuff like that. Cole Carter won with a splash. He was acting very heelish in the match, which was kind of awkward since he was just a babyface, but it still ended up working for the most part. Then we had Cool Hand Angelo Parker squash Cameron Stewart. We had Christian versus Ali Davawi. Entertaining match here. Blake Christian hit a lot of really cool dives in the match, but eventually Ali Davawi hit the discus lariat into the Persian splash for the win. Afterwards, he announced that he acquired a lot of money. He pretty much could outbuy Tony Khan if he wanted to, and he bought the contract of Slim J and has offered anybody else to come work for him. So it will be interesting to see what they do with this. I could see something maybe where like he tries to recruit like maybe Fuego del Sol or some other maybe Sonny Kiss, and it leads to a match between Ali Davawi and one of them, and he just kind of goes through the roster on dark for a bit, and then eventually he faces like a big time star like Adam Page or something, and he loses that match. I don't necessarily mind the storyline. It's nothing new we've really seen before. We've seen this with Big Bunny Matt. We've seen this with Andrade El Idolo. So I'm interested to see what they do with it. Then we had Dante Martin versus Peter Avalon. Pretty Peter Avalon. This was a pretty damn good match. Dante Martin won with the nosedive, which was obvious because Avalon's probably never going to win a match unless it's like a squash or something. And then it led to the main event of the show. It was for the All-Atlantic Championship. Pac defended against LJ Cleary. This was a really good match. I don't think it was as good of the match that he had with Shota Umino, but this was still really good. Pac dominated much of the matchup, but LJ Cleary melted some small comebacks. But eventually Pac hit the red arrow into the brutalizer, and he retained the All-Atlantic Championship. I kind of like what they're doing with the All-Atlantic title, how it's like a forbidden championship, where he can kind of just go to different promotions and defend the title, so I think that's pretty cool. I still think he needs to defend the belt on AEW programming, like proper, like Dynamite or Rampage or something, which I think he will someday. I would like to see him maybe go to like New Japan to defend the title, maybe Strong or something like that, or maybe New Japan regular, because I think that would be cool for Pac. Maybe go to a big UK promotion. So I'd be interested to see what they do there. But a really enjoyable episode of AEW Joke. I enjoyed Alex Reynolds versus Ryan Nemeth, Ali Davawa versus Blake Christian, Cole Carter versus Mike Orlando, and I enjoyed Blake Lee versus Slim J. I thought that was still pretty good stuff. So a pretty enjoyable episode of Doc. Then we had the AEW show that I ended up going to. It was, it was on July 27th, which was the actual date of AEW. I'm just going to kind of go through the pictures on my phone as for notes, so this may take a little bit. This was a pretty cool experience. It was at DCU Center, which was where SmackDown was back in April. So it was kind of cool to go to SmackDown and then go to this show, just because I was kind of interested to see how things were going to be different, since it's two different companies that had been there. It was AEW's first crack of, going to a bigger stadiums, because they've been going to Agganis Arena when they go to Boston and stuff. It was pretty well sold out. I feel like two people are saying that LOH Death Before Dishonor wasn't sold out, because they're posting pictures like before people even get to the venue, or before people sit down before the pre-show. But I'll admit Death Before Dishonor wasn't sold out, but it was definitely more packed than like the pictures on Facebook make to believe. It was definitely a bigger venue. This wasn't sold out, but it had a pretty damn big crowd. It was about 10,000 people there, and it probably holds about like 15,000 people. So while it didn't sell out, it was definitely a pretty packed house. I would say the main places that were empty were like the balcony and stuff like that, but who really wants to buy seats there? We ended up leaving at like 5:30 so we could get to the venue. There was a parking garage right near DCU Center, so luckily we were just able to walk there. I actually sat pretty much in the same section where we went to SmackDown. I didn't sit in the same seats, but it was pretty much the same section, which was kind of cool. So we kind of gave it the same experience. They were supposed to start the show at 7, but I think they started the show earlier than they said because I ended up just getting pizza and stuff, and I heard a match going on. So I don't know what match it was, but I was kind of pissed about it because I wanted to see the whole show, and I was kind of pissed. I mean, I think I just missed like a random squash match, but it's really what it is. But yeah, it had Elevation episode 72 on this show. It was taped. You guys are gonna see this on AEW's YouTube channel on Monday. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I would suggest you skip a couple of minutes of this video. Yeah, pretty good episode of Elevation from what I saw. We had the AFO office minus Andrade and Roosh. It was Angelico, Private Party, and the Butcher and the Blade. They squashed an enhancement team. I don't remember the names, but they ended up squashing them, so that was cool. We had, I'm just trying to go through, and the Factory squashed a tag team, an enhancement tag team. It was a big 8-man tag. We had Athena squash somebody. We had Cole Carter versus Serpentico. That was a good match. Cole Carter ended up winning with the splash. It was cool to see Luther again because we hadn't seen him in a while, so that was cool. Then I'm trying to remember. The main event was a 6-woman tag. It was Toni Storm, Hikaru Shida, and I believe Chris Statlander. No, Willow Nightingale versus Nyla Rose, Marina Shafir, and Emi Sakura. And the babyface team got the win when Shida hit the Falcon Arrow onto Emi Sakura for the win. Made sense for Sakura to take the fall because they're not really pushing her on Dynamite right now. But that was an enjoyable 6-woman tag. And then they went to intermission for a bit. And then the show kicked off proper. We had the Interim AEW World Championship match. It was Jon Moxley defending against Roosh. Jon Moxley Roosh attacked Jon Moxley throughout the beginning parts of this matchup before it even started. They brawled ringside. Roosh threw him into the steps. He ended up busting him open by throwing him into the barricade and just grinding his head into the barricade. Eventually, Moxley started to fight back. He threw Roosh into the steps. A lot of the match took place outside the ring, actually. He had a Russian leg sweep into the guardrail. He stomped onto his hand. He had an X-plex. Roosh hit a wicked double knees twice. He had a double stomp on the outside. Jon Moxley went for the paradigm shift. Roosh countered. Roosh hit the splash. Moxley kicked out. And then Andrade Alito tried to interfere when Moxley went off the top turnbuckle. And it nearly led to Roosh getting the win with the high knee, but Moxley kicked out. Then the Lucha Bros ran out and chased off Andrade Alito, which made sense because they've been feuding lately. And then Moxley hit the elevated paradigm shift into the Bulldog choke, and Roosh ended up passing out. Jon Moxley retained the Interim AEW World Championship. And then the Jericho Appreciation Society came out, and Chris Jericho talked about how now that he's disposed of Eddie Kingston, thanks to the help of Anna Jay, and he explained Anna Jay's involvement by saying that she made a phone call to Chris Jericho for an opportunity, and he wasn't going to deny her of it. And Anna Jay said that Ty Conti opened her eyes, saying that she needed to make her own opportunities than just floundering in the mid-card pretty much. And she said that she's not going to be called Anna Jay. She's going to be called Anna JAS, which stands for Jericho Appreciation Society. So I actually thought she actually really delivered. She delivered a hell of a heel promo, which I kind of didn't expect because she never really talks on the mic all that much. Then Jericho revealed that let me just look up the name of the show real quick. He revealed that at Quake of the Lake, he's going to cash in his 2-year rematch clause on Jon Moxley and challenge him for the interim AEW World Championship. And that may not happen because there's stuff that's going to happen on Rampage that kind of explains it. But Moxley's told him to just come in here and fight him. Don't bring that sports entertainment crap like the Jericho Appreciation Society. Let's see you do this on your own. I want to see the Lionheart Chris Jericho. So I'm wondering if when that match happens, Chris Jericho will do the Lionheart entrance instead of the entrances he's been doing. And I was really entertained by this. I'm looking forward to seeing Moxley versus Jericho. It's a match we haven't seen, I would say, probably since Revolution 2020, when before the pandemic, when Moxley won the AEW World Championship from him the first time. And it adds intrigue because I kind of legitimately don't know who's going to win, because are they going to put the belt back on Jericho and maybe have Eddie Kingston beat him for the belt? Or are they going to have Moxley retain the championship via Eddie Kingston's interference? Because I don't think the program with Eddie Kingston's over. I think a lot of people are going to think that since they didn't have any altercation on Dynamite this week. But I'd imagine that program's not over. I just don't see Jericho not beating Eddie Kingston in the feud. I think they're going to have another match at All Out. They just want to do the match with Moxley right now because it makes sense to go in that direction. So, even though I still think that Eddie Kingston probably should have won that Barbed Wire Massacre match, I can kind of understand it a little bit now, considering the fact that they wanted to do Jericho versus Moxley, so they needed to give Jericho a big win before then, but I'm interested to kind of see where they go with this. Then we had the FTW Championship match. It was Ricky Starks defending against Danhausen. And it was quick. Ricky Starks beat him really fast with the spear, which I kind of expected a little bit. I was kind of hoping they were going to do something entertaining and have Hausen win the belt, but what they did was so much better. So afterwards, Ricky Starks, since it was so fast, called out another opponent, another open challenge, and it ended up being Hook, which I really didn't see coming. And they ended up having a little bit of a match. Ricky Starks actually needed to beat him with the spear, but then eventually he went for the Rochambeau. Hook countered into the sleeper, and Ricky Starks passed out, and Hook became the new FTW champion. And afterwards, he ended up shaking his hand and everything, and Hook ended up leaving with the belt. This actually made so much sense. Everybody really popped for this. They wanted Hook to win this title so bad. And it makes sense because they were in Team Taz together, so there's kind of that storyline that they had go on. And considering the fact that, Hook's Taz's son, and I imagine that this is a way to kind of, for Taz's family to continue the lineage of the FTW Championship. And I think you could get a lot of fun stuff with Hook as FTW Champion. I could see him defending the title every so often. I don't know who he's going to lose the belt to, but I like this. Afterwards, they actually did a thing during the break where Ricky Starks says, I came and showed up and all that type of stuff, which was cool. Afterwards, Ricky Starks did a promo talking about how he brought prestige to the FTW Championship. Everybody thought that it was holding him back, but he actually made that title into something. And he said that he's going to he said that he's had a lot of setbacks, but he's going to come out the other side coming out better. And then out of nowhere, Powerhouse Hobbs turned on Ricky Starks. He decked him and then hit a spine buster on him. And I like this a lot. I'm really interested to see what they do with a babyface Ricky Starks. I've seen him as babyface before in NWA, before the pandemic hit and everything, but they really didn't go all the way with it because sometimes he would be a babyface in NWA, sometimes he'd be a heel. So now that we've kind of seen him as a heel all the time, and now we're really going to see him as a babyface, I'm really interested to see what they do with a babyface Ricky Starks. And I think this is a way for Powerhouse Hobbs to kind of finally stand out on his own with Team Taz and everything. The thing is, too, I don't even know how Taz is going to react to this because he was on commentary for it, and I didn't even hear how he reacted because you can't hear the commentator. So I don't know if Taz was on Powerhouse's side or not. It'll be kind of interesting to see if he was. And I'm really interested to see what they do with this. I'm interested to see a Team Taz feud. Because while we did see it with Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, I don't really think they got the TV time that it deserved. I feel like they could have done a lot more with it. So I'm kind of interested to see what they do now that we're going to have like two guys that AEW really cares about a lot with Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs. So I'm really interested to see what they do with it. So yeah. Next was Sammy Gavawa with Ty Conti ringside versus Dante Mountain. Dante Mountain did an interview backstage saying that he realizes that there's going to be some interference from the outside with Ty Conti, so he's brought in his own backup, Sky Blue, which I kind of like that they led into that. They didn't necessarily say it, but they are dated in real life, so that was kind of a nice way to blend that together. And we had the match. It was really a hell of a match. I really enjoyed seeing this match live. A lot of people say that this match was kind of a bit of a botch fest online, but you really didn't notice it live. So, yeah. Sammy Gavawa was getting his ass kicked, so eventually he just was about to leave. But Dante Mountain ran after him. Then he acted like he was going to leave, but then he ended up hitting a really cool dive onto the outside onto Sammy Gavawa. They continued the match for a bit. Sammy Gavawa ended up hitting a springboard cutter onto Dante Mountain. He dominated the match for a little bit. Hit a Spanish fly. Dante Mountain hit the nosedive and nearly beat Sammy Gavawa, but Ty Conti put his foot on the rope. And then eventually Gavawa hit the GTK for the win. Afterwards, he continuously attacked Dante Mountain, but Sky Blue ended up stepping in and went to interfere, but Anna Jay attacked him, and it led to a double team between Anna Jay and Ty Conti attacking Sky Blue. And then Santana, Eddie Kingston, and Ruby Soho ran out and chased off the heels. So I'd imagine we already got one of the matches, but I imagine in the future, maybe at the Kuwait at the Lake show, we're gonna have Eddie Kingston versus Sammy Gavawa, and that will lead to Eddie Kingston versus Chris Jericho at All Out. And, you know, because I think on that show we'll have that match, and then later in the show, Eddie Kingston will cost Chris Jericho the interim AEW World Championship. So I'm interested to see what they do with that. Then we had Smackman Sterling and Tony Nese versus Swerve Strickland. Pretty entertaining match here. I really enjoyed how they used Smack Sterling in the match. But it was pretty enjoyable. I always thought that Tony Nese and Swerve Strickland had decent chemistry with each other. Eventually, once Swerve Strickland kind of, handled Tony Nese, he forced Smack Sterling to tag in, and he hit the house call onto Smack Sterling, and he ended up getting the win. And then afterwards, we saw Keith Lee laid out backstage by Josh Woods, and Tony Nese attacked Swerve Strickland. So I don't know if we're going to get a tag title match maybe between Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee versus Swerve and Our Glory defending their battles against Josh Woods and Tony Nese. That seems kind of like a random team. I would have preferred maybe they got Ari Daivari and Tony Nese to team up since they have a history together on 205 Live and things like that, but we'll have to kind of wait and see how that goes. Then I'm just going through my phone real quick. Jungle Boy did a promo on this show. I don't actually have it in my notes. He returned. This was the first time we've seen he's come out and cut a promo since he returned last week. And he talked about how Christian Cage was a pussy. He talked about how he's been that way his entire career. He said that he's been trying to stay relevant in the wrestling business. That's why he leached on to Jungle Boy. He said that he finds it fitting that he was pissed that he lost in a big payday bonus because he probably needed that payday bonus from the Casino Battle Royal that I eliminated him from to pay off his divorce. And he talked about how the reason that Luchasaurus stuck by him is because even though he knew that Christian Cage would try to manipulate him, at the end of the day, him and Jungle Boy are inseparable. They can't be separated. And Christian Cage did a promo backstage afterwards, and he talked about how he didn't run away from Jungle Boy because he was afraid of him. He was afraid of what he was going to do to Jungle Boy, and he said that he could have, you know, he could have, Luchasaurus could have benefited by learning from the best, but he chose instead to be friends with mediocrity. And in the promo, Jungle Boy talked about how he had the worst day of his life by burying his father, and Christian Cage talked about how Jungle Boy doesn't have to worry about burying his father that anymore because he's going to put him in the grave right next to his father. So I'm interested to see what they do with that. I'm really excited to see Jungle Boy versus Christian Cage at All Out when they do that match, so I'm excited about it. I think first we're going to get like Christian Cage versus Luchasaurus at probably Kuwait at the lake, and then that will lead to Jungle Boy versus Luchasaurus. Then we had on this show also, the House of Black did an interview where Malachi Black talked about how Miro, whether or not he was going to join the group or not, and then Brody King cut a promo on Darby Allin and says that he keeps attacking him everywhere just to kind of have Darby Allin always have his head on a swivel, and he challenged him to a coffin match in the future. So that's probably going to be a Kuwait at the Lake, maybe the coffin match between Brody King and Darby Allin. I'm looking forward to seeing that match. And then I'd imagine it's probably going to lead to a Darby Allin victory, and then maybe we'll get Darby versus Malachi Black at All Out. That could be exciting. Or maybe they'll do something in the Casino Battle Royal where they'll have a face-off if they have the men's version this year, because I know they always have the Casino Battle Royal at All Out. So I don't think they had it this year for Double or Nothing, to my knowledge. So I imagine they're going to do the Casino Battle Royal. I'm not sure if they will, because they did do it this year right before Revolution, the tag one, so we'll have to wait and see. Also on this show, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh all did a promo pissed that Jay Lethal didn't come away with the ROH World Television Championship. But Jay Lethal said that they have unfinished business with the Best Friends. So the Best Friends came up to them and challenged them to a 6-man tag team match at Rampage, which is going to air later in the night. And then we found out that we were going to have a tournament that's going to culminate All Out to lead to the first ever Trios Championships. And Brandon Cutler did a promo on the Brandon Kim, asking the Young Bucks if they would team with him for the Trios tournament. And Heyman Adam Page came up to them, and it was kind of an awkward moment. So maybe where they teased like if he was going to team up with them. And then the Dark Order came up and wished Heyman Adam Page a happy birthday. And Brandon Cutler asked what that was about, but they just asked Brandon Cutler to cut it. So I'm not sure what that's leading to. I'm really interested to see what they do with the Trios tournament, because that could lead to some really interesting stuff. As for the teams I think that will be in it, I could see definitely a team in the Dark Order. I could see it being maybe 10, John Silver and Alex Reynolds, since that seems to be the trio I would go with. And then I could see maybe the Factory maybe being represented by QT Marshall, Nick Camarado, and Aaron Solo. The Windmen being represented by Peter Avalon, Cesar Bononi, and Ryan Nemeth. And then I definitely see Death Triangle maybe being involved in it. That would be cool. And then maybe a member of the AFO. If I had to say, maybe it could be the Butcher and the Blade and Helico, since they've been doing that match a lot lately, or Private Party and Helico. I prefer the latter because that would be more of an interesting trio. And you could still do the Butcher and the Blade and maybe Joe or Joel. That would be cool. I'm trying to think of what other trios could be involved in that tournament. I could see, I don't even know, I think it's risky to do this. I could see the Super Era, the Undisputed Elite, specifically Adam Cole and Red Dragon, but I don't even know if I would even risk that right now, because I don't even know what the status of Adam Cole is to come back to the ring. I wouldn't even risk that. And maybe the Young Bucks, and maybe they'll get Heyman Adam Page to team with them. I do hear that Kenny Omega's due for a return, so maybe they'll have Kenny Omega come back and be the Elite, and we can finally get that storyline going again. I am interested in the Trios Championships. I do wonder if you're getting to the point where they're having too many titles on AEW now, though. I did count them. We have the World Championship now. The TNT title, the Women's regular title and TBS title, the tag titles, and it's another champion. Oh, and the All Atlantic title now. And if you want to count the ROH championships, also championships I've included the FTW title. Like, I wonder if you're getting to the point where there's too many championships. But then again, I think AEW has the same amount of belts as WWE and New Japan. And it's kind of a weird thing because a lot of people say something when WWE does it, but no one really bats an eye when New Japan has all these championships. So it's really interesting. I do wonder if they should just get rid of they should have just had the TBS Trios championships, instead of the women's belt. I feel like there's no need for 2 women's championships. There's really no need for that, but we have to wait and see what happens with that. Then it led to the main event. It was Daniel Garcia versus Bryan Danielson. I can't think of any other match or promo or whatever that happened on the show. Really entertaining match. It was awesome to see Bryan Danielson return. And him and Garcia really went at it. Bryan Danielson started off this match really aggressive here by hitting his drop kicks in the corner, his yes kicks, and eventually Garcia got the advantage. Bryan Danielson earlier had exposed the ring mat, and Garcia DDT'd Bryan Danielson onto the exposed ring mat, and he just dominated Bryan Danielson throughout much of this matchup, really targeted the head that was busted open in the match. And Bryan Danielson eventually mounted a comeback. He hit 2 suicide dives in a row onto Daniel Garcia, a diving headbutt, diving missile drop kick. But eventually Garcia mounted a comeback. They both ended up slapping each other. And eventually Jake Hager was under the ring. He held Bryan Danielson's leg. Daniel Garcia attacked him. It laid out Bryan Danielson with the power driver, got him into the Texas Cloverleaf and really stretched back on it. And Bryan Danielson ended up passing out. Daniel Garcia beat Bryan Danielson. I couldn't believe it. I was surprised considering the fact that it was Bryan Danielson's first match back in AEW. I thought he would go over here, but that was not the case. And some people are complaining about this. I do hear mixed feelings on it. It doesn't make sense since Daniel Garcia just lost to Willie Yuda for the ROH Pure Championship. And, they're also saying, what are they going to do with this in a couple of weeks and stuff. But I'm a fan of this. I like that they did a surprise victory here. I think this is going to really put over Daniel Garcia. And, you could do something with this where Bryan Danielson loses confidence in himself a little bit. Maybe it leads to Daniel Garcia joining the Blackpool Combat Club and turning on the Jericho Appreciation Society. So they were kind of saying that that's kind of the direction they wanted to go in. So I really think this does a lot for Daniel Garcia. I'd imagine, too, this is probably something that Bryan Danielson wanted to do. He really wanted to get over Daniel Garcia. He really wanted to put him over, so I'm really not going to complain about it. And that was Dynamite. Now going on a Rampage, which I was also there live for. They had a 10-minute intermission. And then it kicked right off with the first match. Jericho came out to do commentary, and he said that nobody gets to sing his theme song because we all booed him when Jon Moxley was making fun of him. So I thought that was funny. And we had the first match. It was Best Friends at Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt. This was an entertaining match here. You had some really entertaining moments with Lethal and Sanjay Dutt and Cassidy and Satnam Singh and Cassidy. But eventually Orange Cassidy hit the orange punch onto Sanjay Dutt. And afterwards, the heels attacked the Best Friends, and Wardlow came out, had a face-off with Satnam Singh. So I don't know if we're going to get that TNT title match that we wanted. It might be a bit early. I don't know if you should really throw Satnam out there in a one-on-one match right now since he's still kind of green. He's looking pretty decent in the six-man tag, but that's because he's not really doing a whole lot. So I do wonder if you're kind of throwing him to the fire a little bit early. And then, and they announced that on Dynamite we're going to have Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal, which I'm interested in. So that was cool. Then we had Ethan Page squashed Leon Ruffin, and he just immediately left. It led to kind of some more disgruntled because Ethan Page was talking about how this is his first Dynamite match in a while. Well, first match on TV in a while. So yeah, a lot of the AEW talent are happy they're not getting TV time like Ethan Page, Sonny Kiss, and Brian Cage. So actually, Brian Cage just wants out at this point, so that's interesting. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I wanted this to be a little bit more of a match. They had a little bit of a match. Leon Ruffin got a little offense in, but I was kind of hoping they would do a little bit more with it, but that wasn't the case. Then we had Lee Moriarty versus Matt Sydal. This was everybody was into this match. The match itself was good, but everyone was just kind of losing interest. It was late at night. Everyone just wanted to go home at this point. This is where I think AEW Rampage would benefit being not taped the same night sometimes because I think it really burns the crowd out sometimes. Eventually, Lee Moriarty ended up making Matt Sydal tap out, and he was acting very heelish in the match. I don't know if he officially turned heel, but he was acting pretty heelish in the match. Stokely Hathaway came out and handed him his business card, so I don't know if he's officially joined up with Stokely Hathaway. It seems like it, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. I would like to see a heel Lee Moriarty. I did question it since they just had him Jonathan Gresham turn heel on him, but now that Gresham isn't there anymore, maybe he's gonna fill the Gresham role as being the heel now. So I'm interested to see what they do with him. Then we had an interview with Claudio Castanoli and Willie Yuda. Castanoli talked about how he was happy that he finally won a world championship and he's going to defend the title with honor. Then Willie Yuda came out, and before he could really say anything, Chris Jericho got on the mic and was immediately pissed that the Blackpool Combat Club is going to steal his thunder and everything. And Willie Yuda talked about how he thinks he could beat Chris Jericho, but Chris Jericho didn't believe it, and he challenged him to a match on Dynamite, but Willie Yuda then said he wasn't interested. So it made Jericho want the match, and he offered to put up his opportunity at the Interim AEW World Championship, and says that if Chris Jericho beats him, he will give Willie Yuda that opportunity, and Willie Yuda accepted. So I'm interested to see that match. I don't think Willie Yuda is going to necessarily win, but I think it's going to be a hell of a match. Then we had the main event. It was Ruby Soho versus Anna Jay or Anna JAS. They tried to show the Mark Henry split screen interview like 3 times, but they had technical difficulties. So eventually they ended up getting it working. But yeah, we had this match. It was still a good match, but the crowd was still burnt out. They probably should have swapped and had Anna Jay versus Ruby Soho open the show, and then have Best Friends and Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal, Satnam Singh, and Sanjay Dutt end the show, because the crowd was really into that match and not so much Ruby Soho and Anna Jay. But they still had a really good match here. Anna Jay eventually choked out Ruby Soho with the sleeper, and she had Ruby Soho's cast, and behind the referee's back she used it as leverage to make Anna Jay go to sleep faster, and Anna Jay won, and Chris Jericho came in and held her hand and everything. And we weren't done there, because even though that was the end of the Rampage broadcast, they brought out William Regal, and she congratulated Ruby Soho. They brought out Claudio Castagnoli and Willie Yuda. Willie Yuda talked about the biggest match of his career when he fought Jon Moxley. And even though he didn't win, he earned the respect of it. But now he wants to beat Jon Moxley and take that Interim AEW World Championship from him. Jericho came back out. Jericho made several appearances on this show and talked about how he's not going to beat him. It's going to be the biggest disappointment of his career. and he offered to shake Willie Yuda's hand. Willie Yuda did. He decked Jericho, and Jericho he laid him out with the DDT. Jericho rolled out of the ring, and he was pissed. And then Willie and Regal, told everyone have a good night and get out of here safe and everything. And that was the end of the AEW show as a whole. As for the week of AEW, I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's my favorite AEW show that I've gone to. If I had to say my favorite, it's either the second episode or the episode that I was at recently, where I saw Willie Yuda versus John Moxley and FTR versus the Young Bucks. So it's probably my other favorite episode. But yeah, really enjoyable episode going to live. I'm just going to give the week of AEW an S rank, just because I was there live and everything. Even though it dragged at some periods, like with Matt Sydal versus Lee Moriarty, the in-ring work was still pretty damn good and stuff. So I still enjoyed AEW for the most part. Now let me do my predictions for this week's stuff coming up in AEW. I forgot one match in AEW Dynamite, actually. It was Thunder Rosa defending the AEW Women's World Championship against Yuda Yamashita. So I forgot about that. I just remembered it because Thunder Rosa's wrestling on the next episode. Yeah, that was a pretty good match. It was on a bad spot in the show. No one, so the crowd wasn't into it. They don't really know Yuda Yamashita. They were more into it than I think you would have thought so, but it was still a pretty good match. Thunder Rosa just won with the Thunder Driver. I thought they would have set up an angle with Thunderstorm and Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, where they would have attacked Thunder Rosa after the match, and Thunder Rosa would have Tony Storm would have made the save, but that was not the case. So I don't know what happened there, but still enjoyable nonetheless. Then we had now let me preview AEW Dynamite. This is what's announced as of right now. I don't know what's announced for Rampage. I don't think they've announced anything yet, but this is what I know is announced as of right now. We're going to have Christian Cage versus Matt Hardy. I'm interested in this match. They obviously have a history with each other from their TLC matches and things like that. It'll be cool to watch this match because obviously when they faced off before, Matt Hardy was the heel and Christian Cage was the babyface, so I kind of like that they've reversed the roles now. And as for who I think is going to win, it's obviously going to be Christian Cage. He's obviously really hot right now in his heel run with his feud with Jungle Boy. It would not make sense at all for him to lose this match, so I think Christian Cage is going to win. Then we have the tag match. It's going to be Thunderstorm versus Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. This really could go either way. You could have Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter win by getting the win off of Tony Storm, and it could set up a future AEW Women's World Title match between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, maybe at Battle of the Belts or something like that. Or you could have Thunderstorm just win and get the win on Jamie Hayter and still set up that match with Britt Baker attacking both women after the match. And I think Thunderstorm actually is going to win this match. I think Jamie Hayter can easily take a loss and nobody would be hurt by it. And I think we're going to get maybe Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker, because Battle of the Belts is coming up. They haven't really announced any matches yet for it, so I don't know if they're even going to do any matches. If I had to, I will guess matches at the end. But I don't know if they're going to do any matches for it. I could see Thunder Rosa maybe versus Britt Baker getting announced, and then maybe at All Out they'll do the Women's Battle Royal. Or I could see Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker versus Tony Storm maybe in a triple threat match at Battle of the Belts. And then whoever Thunder Rosa doesn't beat will face her at All Out, and they'll do some type of battle royal or something. I really don't know what they're going to set up for a women's championship match at All Out. But I think Thunderstorm will beat Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Then we have Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal. I think that's an easy victory for Orange Cassidy. There's really no reason to have him lose. You could have Jay Lethal get the win via interference since he just had a big loss to Samoa Joe, but I really don't think there's a reason for Jay Lethal to win. I think Orange Cassidy's going to win. So then we're going to have a dumpster match. It's going to be the Acclaim versus the Gun Club. I imagine they did some type of promo doing Rampage or something, but I didn't see it, so the Acclaimed picked a dumpster match. I'm not sure which two members of Gun Club is going to be represented, because I really don't know. I imagine it's going to be Austin and Colton Gunn, but they could surprise us and do Bailey and Austin Gunn, since he's been a big factor in this feud. And it's really tough who's going to win this match, because I think the Acclaim should win, but they could do something where the Gun Club win via Billy Gunn interference. Because technically, I think the Acclaim would be protected in a loss, considering the fact that it's a dumpster match. I believe you just put your opponent in the dumpster, so you could easily have the Acclaim lose and be protected in defeat. But I think they should just have the Acclaim win. They just turned babyface, and you've had the Gun Club lay them out time in and time out. I think it's time for the Acclaim to get a nice feel-good babyface win. And I'm kind of interested in this match. We haven't seen a dumpster match, I believe, since Braun Strowman and Kalisto on Raw in 2017. And that kind of sucked. So I'm interested to see what they do with this dumpster match. No, I don't know if they have this where like both members of the team have to go into the dumpster. I remember when they did this before, they did a thing where where you didn't have to close the lid of the dumpster. You just had to go in. I don't know if you have to like close the lid of the dumpster as well, but we'll have to wait and see. But I am interested in this match nonetheless. Then we have what's going to probably be the main event of Dynamite. It's going to be Willie Yuda versus Chris Jericho, where if Yuda wins, he will replace Jericho in the match with Jon Moxley for the Interim AEW World Championship at Quake at the Lake on August 10th. I think that's an easy victory for Chris Jericho. There's really no reason for Willie Yuda to win. I think he'll have a very good performance, and then someone from the Jericho Appreciation Society will interfere. Jericho will hit the Judas effect and win. And if he'll face Jon Moxley for the Interim AEW World Championship. So that's my prediction there. I'm really not sure what else matches they'll do. I imagine maybe on Rampage or Dynamite they'll announce the tournament brackets for the Trios Championships. And I kind of made mention of who I think will be in it. I do think the teams that I've said will be in it. Maybe they'll throw in a New Japan team in there, like I'm trying to think of a New Japan team that could get thrown in there. Maybe I would like to see it be like a member of Team Filthy or a member of Suzuki's son. Maybe they will have Lance Archer, Minoru Suzuki, and Zack Sabre Jr. be the representatives, because I believe they're Suzuki-gun. So that'll be interesting. And yeah, so I'm interested to see what they do with it. And yeah, that's my predictions. If I had to think other matches, like what I think could be on Elevation or something, I think in the future, I don't know if it'll be on this show. I think we're gonna get, since it's the same week, I think we're gonna get maybe like Althea versus Chris Statlander, maybe on Dynamite or Rampage, and the winner faces Jade for the TBS Women's Championship. Or maybe a 6-woman tag with the Baddies versus Anna Jay. I keep seeing Anna Jay. Althea, Chris Statlander, and Willow Nightingale. That'd be interesting. I could see an ROH World title get defended. I'm not sure what championship would get defended. I would like to see Claudio Castanoli defend the ROH World Championship against somebody, since he just won it. It would be huge momentum for it if maybe he could defend it against a member of the Jericho Appreciation Society. I do think we're gonna get maybe he could face Sammy Gavawa or I'm trying to think, Daniel Garcia, since he just beat Bryan Danielson in a match. That would be huge. I do think we'll get a women's title defended. Maybe the Thunder Rosa defending against, like I said, maybe Britt Baker at Battle of the Belts. Trying to think if maybe the tag titles would get defended. Maybe Swerve and Our Glory will defend against Tony Nese and Josh Woods, since they just kind of set that program up. Because they could do that match at All Out, but I don't really think you really need to do that match at All Out. because they usually do 3 championship matches. The 3 title matches I think what happened is maybe Wardlow versus Satnam Singh, Thunder Rosa versus either Tony Storm, Britt Baker, or both at a triple threat match. And then maybe an ROH World title, maybe Claudio Castanoli versus Daniel Garcia at Battle of the Belts. That's the match I'd like to see. At Rampage, I could see them defending. I could see a #1 contenders match getting set up with Chris Statlander versus Althea, or Athena. It's Ember Moon from WWE. I forget what her name is right now. And they'll have Ember Moon beat her, and they'll set up a TBS title match between her and Jade, and she'll beat Jade's undefeated streak. And then maybe, I'm not sure what other matches could get added on Rampage. I really don't know. But yeah, I think those are the matches I see happening, at least on this week's Dynamite. As for Elevation, I really don't know. They haven't really set up any programs. Or Doc, I can't really think of any other matches they've really been building any programs for right now, so be interested to see what happens there. I definitely think maybe they could do the trustees, Ari Daivari and Slim J, have some type of squash match maybe on there, since they just kind of established that tag team. I like to see FTR defend the New Japan tag titles too, maybe against a New Japan tag team. Maybe the Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb, since they haven't had their rematch yet for the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Championships. You could get FTR versus Lucha Bros too, since they haven't defended the AAA tag titles in a while either. But the last time they defended them actually was when they fought the Young Bucks in that 6-star tag match. So those are the matches I think that are going to happen though, like that I could see on this week's episode of programming that I would like to see happen, but we'll have to wait and see. But that's pretty much it, guys, for Spark. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And I have a special announcement. Probably not the next episode, but the episode that I do the Quake at the Lake coverage, I'm going to try to have a guest on for the first time for AEW Spark. It's going to be Gary Joe. He's offered to do an episode. It's going to be kind of cool because he was on AEW Spark when Noah Foster, the Simple Man, did it. So I'm kind of interested to see what that will be like. If he's going to like the new management of AEW Spark, so I'm kind of interested to see what happens with that. So that's pretty much it, guys, though. I really have nothing left to talk about. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more content. I don't know what content you're going to see the next week or so, but we'll have to wait and see, and that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.
Podcast has concluded. Be sure to check out more group discussion as far as AEW content is concerned, and check out more content from For the Win Productions.